Hi everybody, welcome to week 6 computing lesson, and we had somebody else that was very interested in our computing today and has been busy watching my sprite move around the screen as if it's a little game. So today is going to be our last computing lesson of the term, and we are going to finish and complete our Scratch projects by challenging ourselves to do one extra thing. So if you recast your memory back to what we were doing for computing at the start of the term, we had our backdrop, which was the space backdrop, and then we had the Earth and the Moon, and we had to get our sprite, which was the rocket, to move across the screen. And we did that by writing an algorithm, a set of code using the blocks on Scratch, to tell our sprite exactly what we would like it to do. So what we're going to do today is we're going to add something else into our Scratch program, and we are going to add Mars, and we're going to try and get our rocket to go from Earth to the Moon to Mars and then back to Earth. So our code is going to get slightly longer. So like before, you'll need to open up your Scratch project, either from your computer or if you did it on a tablet or an iPad, and you'll need to load it up from where we last left off. Now you can see on my screen, I've already started having a little play around getting my rocket to do different things, which I'm going to talk through with you now. So hopefully you already have your backdrop, Earth and the Moon. And then I've had a go at adding Mars in, and I've put Mars down here. And if you remember rightly, to edit our backdrops, we will click backdrop over here on the right hand side, and then we can click this little paint tool up here, which will bring us to our backdrop to edit. So I have already got Mars on mine, but if you remember, let's go through it together. I'm going to choose the circle. You might want to draw yours, it's up to you. I'm going to then choose which colour I would like to fill my circle with, and we can do that by moving the bars here, and it will show you the colour at the top. Once you've got your chosen colour, you can then decide where you would like the planet to go. So I'm going to put it here. Next, I then need to have my code to start programming my rocket to do all of these different things. So, to then get back to our code, we need to click on our sprite, which is the rocket, and then click at the top where it says code, and it will display all of the code that you already have, ready to then start adding more onto the blocks. As we talked about how the orange blocks are always the ones we start with because they're closed, and then you can see that these blocks, there's always something that we can add to it, like a jigsaw piece. So I've already had a go at programming my rocket to do different things. So what we're going to do first is I'm going to run my code, and I'd like you to watch what the rocket does, and then we're going to talk through which blocks I have used to code it to do this. So we can see that to start it, we need to press the green flag. Okay, so we know that to start it, I had to press the green flag to run my code. I then got my rocket to turn 45 degrees because I want it to go towards the moon. And I chose the glide button because I wanted to choose the length of time that my rocket would take to glide there. So I chose for it to glide for 5 seconds. And we talked about using the coordinates when we can move our sprite around the screen to find the coordinates, didn't we? So I chose where I'd like my sprite to go and then put the coordinates in. I then had to get my rocket to turn 180 degrees. So it's doing a half turn to face towards Mars. And then I chose for it to glide for 3 seconds. And then I did that by moving my sprite around and choosing the coordinates. I then got it to turn 45 degrees to face towards Earth, and then glide for 4 seconds back towards Earth, and then I got it to turn so that it was facing upwards, ready to start. But we also talked about last time how we had another block of code so that if I press the space bar, which we can see there, my rocket returns to the starting position. So your job today is you would have got as far as getting your rocket to go from the Earth to the Moon and then maybe back to Earth. But we're going to add in Mars today, and we're going to get our rocket to go to all 3 planets and then back to its original position. So you may choose to use some different blocks today. So you might choose to use go to rather than getting your rocket to glide. You might choose to get it to move a certain number of steps. So I've just decided for my rocket to glide across the screens because I can then choose the length of time that I'd like it to take. But you can choose different blocks to get your rocket to do different things. Perhaps to challenge yourself, you could get your rocket to go from Earth to the Moon and to Mars, and then it has to go from Mars to the Moon back to Earth. So rather than going around, it has to go from Earth to the Moon to Mars, and then back to the Moon, and then back to planet Earth. So perhaps you could have a play around and see how many different ways you can get your rocket to do these different things. So that is your job for today. You might also want to have a play around with some of the different blocks as well. And we can't wait to see all of the different things that you can program your sprite to do. So just a reminder that today's task is you're adding Mars. You'll need to go and edit your backdrop. You can do this by drawing it, or you might want to use the shapes. You might want to add some effects to Mars as well. And then you're continuing your piece of code from our previous 2 lessons, trying to get your sprite to do these different things. We can't wait to see some videos or have your Scratch project sent over to us to see what you have been up to. Enjoy, everybody. Bye.